Hey, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? Gracious good morning to you good people. It's your girl KB. You know what I do and you know why I do it. It's Wednesday morning. It's October 8th and it is 3:48 in the AM. It took forever for the first part of this video to load. So here is part two, the remix, the redo, whatever you want to call it. Part two. So I was sharing why I dislike this town disguised as a city in California. It's just some very racist things happened, and it speaks a lot to the mindset of folks in this particular state. Now, it's a mixed bag. I can say where I grew up in New York, and I've shared this, my hometown is Buffalo. I grew up in a predominantly Polish neighborhood. There were a handful of black folks that lived on my street. There was one other family on the street prior to our moving on the street, and they were renters, and we owned our home. And I remember the cost of the home. It was $35,000, which was a massive amount back in the day. Now, I ask you, in this day and age, where can you purchase a split level home, 3 bedrooms upstairs, 3 bedrooms downstairs? We rented the upstairs level out, and that paid for the mortgage. So the house pretty much paid for itself. Now, we've had craptacular tenants for a period of time, but for the most part, the house paid for itself. And it was what it was. During the time that we lived there, there was mucho más racial tension. Imagine being in the early years, 2 black families in a sea of Polish folks. Now, over the years, there was a gradual truce or peace, albeit a dysfunctional peace. Because as soon as there was a disagreement, you heard the slurs. We also knew, we meaning as the black families gradually came in, we also knew, and this holds true for a lot of New York, you knew that there were streets that you could not cross. It became a sundown area. Now, for my mother's side of the family, folks were highly educated and very sensitive to racism. And I shared with you that I started reading Black Panther literature at the age of 8 as a result of my mother taking a black lit class and me starting to read the books from her black literature class. Now, I also remember stories that my grandfather told of his development in the racial South. And most people, when you say Virginia, excuse me, because it's so closely linked with the DC area, you really don't think about, racial tension. And when you think about the North, I like to say I'm a Yankee. True and true in every sense of the word. But we also have to remember that Gettysburg is in Pennsylvania. So a lot of the Civil War was played out in the North. Buffalo was one of the last stops on the Underground Railroad. And there are historical markers, where people were hidden as they fled to Canada, or some even stayed in the North. On my father's side of the family, my aunt was a historic figure in one of the first long-standing black businesses in that area. So there is a lot happening. And I don't know if any of you guys are old enough to remember the show Love American Style, and the comedian actor Scoey Mitchell. It was rumored, I'm just going to put that out there, it was rumored, because this upsets some members of the family, that my mom dated Scoey, and the family wanted my mother to marry Scoey. And my mother chose who she chose, and put it like that. And let's say it was not the best pairing. Tell the truth, shame the devil. One of my grandma's favorite quotes. Anywho, fast forward. I know this is a very long story. This is what happened yesterday. When I moved from the little cow town to the city, because I have to have some city. I'm steeped in city. Then I moved to San Francisco. I had several different housing situations. I started out with my own place. And as I moved from the cow town to another person who wanted to leave the cow town and experience the big city, they ended up returning to the cow town. I never did. But I had various progressions of apartments. I lived in that place by myself for a minute. Then rent started getting expensive. I bought a car, so I had to make some adjustments in my spending habits and my income. Had roommates. Then I went back to living by myself. Then I had roommates again, but I met one particular roommate and ended up living with this particular individual in the same house for over 20 years. Now, roommates in the meantime had come and gone, but we were the core group at that point. And saw our daughter being born. I babysat our daughter. Daughter's now in her late 20s. Saw our daughter graduate grade school, high school, and went off to college. And it was during that time that I moved out, because this particular individual's mom started feeling poorly, and she wanted to be close by, as she wanted her close by. Then the mom eventually moved in after her husband died. So it's like, I'm never one to mess up a family dynamic. So I moved out. As I shared, this particular roommate was diagnosed with cancer in March and left here at the end of March. And then Saturday on the 4th, her mom passed. Mom was in her 90s. Sweet, wonderful woman. So the daughter yesterday, or at some point, posted a montage of photos. And I saw it before I started my work day. Now, knowing what I had to deal with at work and seeing this photo montage, mentally and emotionally, I was down, awash with emotion. But I knew I had to be on for my job, because once I come into my office, whatever I'm experiencing as an individual has to stop. And for those of you who don't know what I do for a profession, I'm a counselor. So it had to stop. So I had to carry that weight silently yesterday and, deal with what I had to deal with at work. But I was a wreck yesterday morning, so you didn't get a whole bunch from me. Oh, I talked, but I didn't talk about anything that I was deeply invested in. So, there's a lot that goes into what would seem like nothingness that I'm putting out. But there's always stuff behind the scenes. And, I shared that I keep this real raw 100 autobiographical. So I will eventually get to sharing all of who I am during, various recordings of the day, week, month. I don't hold anything back. What's the point of doing this if you're going to fake the funk or become this person that you're not? And I'm not in any kind of incentive program. I don't care about that stuff. What I care about is helping people manage or grow through what they're going through.